In dark alleys of Lahore, where the sound of laughter once echoed through narrow streets and school bells rang in mornings, a nightmare was quietly growing. A nightmare that would one day shake an entire nation and leave hundreds of mothers weeping for sons who never came back. This is the story of Javed Iqbal, a man who called himself a punisher, but became one of the most chilling figures Pakistan has ever known. A man who claimed to have murdered 100 boys, but before we call him a monster, before we close case and move on, we have to ask, how does a man like this come to exist? What turns a child into someone who can destroy so many others? Let's go back to where it all began. Javed Iqbal Mughal was born sometime around 1961 in Lahore, Pakistan. He wasn't born into poverty or chaos. In fact, quite opposite. His father was respected businessman. The family was well off. He studied in good schools. He was intelligent, quite even polite. But behind that calm exterior, something darker was forming. Those who knew him said he was different, withdrawn, distinct. He lived in a world that only he could see. He wasn't a violent boy, but he was cold. As he grew older, that coldness grew with him. By the 1980s, Javed was running a small business, repairing radios and dealing in scrap parts. He lived alone in a rented flat in Lahore. Neighbors said he rarely spoke, rarely smiled, but he had a strange obsession. He surrounded himself with young boys, mostly runaways, orphans, and street kids who had nowhere else to go. He would feed them, shelter them, even give them money. At first, people thought he was generous, a kind man helping the poor, but there were rumors, whispers, that not all was as it seemed. Some boys stayed for days, others disappeared without a trace. No one asked much questions because, in chaos of city, one missing child was nothing new, and that silence became his camouflage. In the early 1990s, something happened that Javed Iqbal would never forgive. He was accused by police of sexually abusing young boys. He was arrested, beaten, humiliated in public. He later claimed that police even tortured him, mocked him, and that broke something inside him. He vowed revenge. He reportedly said, "They made my mother cry in front of everyone. Now I will make hundreds of mothers cry." And from that moment, a dark plan began to form in his mind. He wouldn't just hurt boys, he would use them to hurt world. By 1998, Iqbal Javed had moved into a new house on Shadbagh Road, Lahore. From outside, it was ordinary, a typical home in busy neighborhood, but inside it was something else. There were acid drums in corners, ropes, chains, and walls covered in children's photographs. Over the next 18 months, Javed claimed he would bring young boys aged 6 to 16 into his house. He said he would offer them food, money, or place to sleep, and then he would never let them leave. He would abuse them, strangle them, cut their body apart, and dissolve their remains in acid. He said he did this to erase them completely, so no mother could ever find her son again. It was evil beyond comprehension, and still Steve couldn't believe. Steve didn't know it still, because he was careful, he was quiet, and Lahore was too busy with surviving. Then one morning in December 1999, two letters arrived at newspaper Lahore office. One was addressed to editor, the other to police. Both were signed Javed Iqbal. Those letters had confession of murdering over 100 boys. He even included photos, identity cards, and proof of his crimes. He wrote, "I have no regret. I have completed my mission. I'm surrendering myself. You can find remains in my house." The police rushed to his home, and what they found would scare them for life. When officers entered his house, they found acid containers filled with human remains, pieces of clothes, children's shoes, diaries listing every single victim with names, age, and how he disposed them. The police were horrified. Some ran out vomiting, others cried, and yet Javed Iqbal, who was nowhere to be found, He had vanished, leaving behind his confession and a nation to shock. For next 3 weeks, Pakistan was gripped in terror. His photos everywhere, newspapers, TVs, police stations. People locked their doors. Parents kept their children home. And city of Lahore felt haunted by his shadow. But on December 30, 1999, Javed Iqbal walked into office of News Channel in Lahore and surrendered. He was calm, he was smiling. He told police, I am Javed Iqbal, the one you're looking for. The officers who arrested him said they had never seen a man so at peace, as if he believed he had done something right. Courtroom was packed on trial. Journalists, families, police officers, all wanting to see the face of man who killed their children. Javed sat there quietly emotionless. He claimed he was doing God's work, punishing corruption and evil in society. He said he had no remorse. When judge read charges, 100 counts of murder, Javed only nodded. Then came the sentence. The judge declared, "You will be strangled to death." In front of victims' parents, your body will be cut into 100 pieces and dissolved in acid as you did to the children. It was a sentence as brutal as his crimes, meant to deliver justice in same language he used for evil, but sentence was never carried out. Human rights group condemned it, calling it inhumane even for Javed Iqbal. So he waited in prison until the end found him. On October 8, 2001, guards at jail found Javed Iqbal and his inmate hanging in their cell. Official reports said suicide, but not everyone believed it. Some whispered that it was revenge, that someone inside the prison made sure he never walked out alive again. Others said it was guilt that had finally caught up. Either way, Javed was no more. The man who took hundreds of lives was gone, but pain left behind still lingers. Outside jail that day, a group of mothers gathered. Some were silent, some held photos of boys who never found. There were no paths to bury, no graves to visit, only memories. And for those mothers, Javed Iqbal's death brought no peace. The story of Javed Iqbal isn't about a monster, it's about a system that failed, the streets that forgot the forgotten. Every boy he killed had a name, a dream, a smile, and yet they vanished without leaving a trace, without world even noticing. How does this happen? How does a state lose 100 children and not anyone realize until it's too late? Sometimes evil doesn't come from shadows, sometimes it grows in light, and only we see once it's too late. In his last interview, Javed Iqbal was asked one simple question: do you regret anything? He looked at camera and said nothing. Today, more than 2 decades later, the name Javed Iqbal still chills the people of Lahore because his crimes were not against children, they were against innocence itself. If this story teaches us anything, it's that monsters don't always hide under bed. Sometimes they walk among us, pretending to help, pretending to care, while darkness breathes behind their eyes. But for every Javed Iqbal, there are also people who fight back, who protect, who heal, and that's what we must remember. Because in dark alleys of Lahore, where shadows once hide monsters, there are still lights, small flickering light of kindness, courage, and hope, and those lights must never go out, must carry on those lights.